Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Crockett Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to the legendary War Zone. I got my good friend Donovan Sadiq, the Queen Demetra K, and tonight we gonna figure out if you black. You damn right. We gonna figure out if you black tonight. Expeditiously. And what the hell is going on in Atlanta? You keep poking that bear, huh? I guarantee you gonna get what you wishing for. Be careful what you wish for. Say, man, I want to welcome you to another exciting edition of the War Zone. I'm in the building with my good friends, Donovan Sadiq, the Queen Demetra K. Our guest will be in a few minutes, Danny Ausberry. And tonight we going to figure out if you black. Now, I need you to hold on to your seats because when I heard the brother speak, we sat down and talked, it blew me away. Right now, I don't know what the hell I am. I know I ain't checking black on the applications no more. I got to figure it out, and hopefully tonight I can figure it out. But before Danny get here, man, what the hell is going on in ATL? Donovan, talk to me.
Well, like I said, just when we think that, we've got the situation handled, race soldiers and white supremacy shows you that they don't give a damn how many protests you have. They are going to shoot you down in the street when you're sleeping in your car. So, we got some issues. I mean, they're making a statement and they're telling you they're pushing back to all this police reform and all this stuff. It's almost like putting up a scarecrow and the old Negro slave guys, and it scares us, like having a Klan uniform on. They're letting you know we are not going to go quietly. Demetra?
I agree. It's just, again, that's why I say they cannot be trained not to be that. I mean, the man was running away and they shot him in his back. So, I mean, it's like they know they're not supposed to be shooting nobody in their back, especially if he's running, because if anybody was running, they're not posing a threat. So you can't train them, not to be that. And to that point, what is there to de-escalate? The man was running. So that's just who they are. I mean, Atlanta being in the deep South, where KKK has its roots, it has its deep roots, and they have not gone anywhere. And so we've seen plenty of videos of white people running to the police with knives, cussing them out. Your mama this, your mama that. You don't tell me what to do, and all this other stuff, and getting all crunk. And they still live to see another day. So I really don't see it changing very much. And Gary, you made a good point earlier. We too busy Watusian and electric sliding and stuff with the po-po. We need to, reach out a hand of forgiveness and love. And again, black people, is not our job to fix racism or to make white people, the KKK, police, whoever, love us. That's not our job. We didn't create that situation. They did. So it's up to white people to get rid of it. But no, I don't think it's going to go away. I think it went away for a couple of days, but it'll be back because black people are just way too forgiving.
I'm going to say this. I think every police department in the country need to invest. They need to call Dana White from the UFC, because it looked like every time one of your cops getting their ass whooped, you pull that pistol out. They cannot fight. What type of training are you giving them? Because they cannot physically defend themselves. How does one man beat the hell out of two cops in Atlanta? What are you doing with our tax money?
All right. Half sleep. He jumps up and just, handles two dudes right out of his sleep.
The other thing too is, because This is not a cigarette, y'all. So straw. I'm about to be drinking something in a minute. It need to be a cigarette after all the things we got to go through. No.
You mean cigar weed?
Something. Cigar crack or something. I don't know. But all the, so a lot of people say, oh, well, he shouldn't have been resisting. He should have just, listen, if you black in America, you a black man in America, especially, and after seeing what they did to George Floyd, ain't no way in hell you going, of course you going, it's like, listen, y'all gonna kill me. Y'all gonna kill me after everybody see me fighting to live. I mean, who's gonna stand there and wait for the inevitable, right?
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, anybody who's seen what happened to George Floyd, of course you're going to be terrified when you see these race soldiers in their uniform could legally kill you on videotape without no repercussions. I'm gonna fight them too. I'm gonna fight them too. I mean, it's best to fight for your life than just to lay down and peacefully protest and get your head beat in. Forget that. So yeah, no.
I must say this here, man. I don't have another cheek to turn. I don't have another cheek to turn. I've been very, very peaceful. I think I have. I'm not going to let you people do anything to me. I'm making it known now. I'm not going behind the building. I'm not trying to be politically correct. I'm not taking a chance with you people. And the sad part about it is it's y'all fault it happened. I told you about doing the Cupid shuffle with the enemy. It's too early. Nothing has changed. I told you about doing the Cupid shuffle with the enemy. So another one of our people are on the ground. Bullets in his back. And you got somebody fired. This. Goddamn, I don't think the punishment fit the crime. I really don't think the punishment fit the crime. Because the most these people are getting, they're being terminated from their place of employment. If you raise your voice on your job, you get terminated. So I guess that's equal to murdering somebody. Every chief in the country who has an issue with a shooting in their department on this day should be terminated. Every single one of y'all. Because I listened to Dave Chappelle. Man, that boy real, man. That wasn't no comedy. That was real. And I totally agree with him. When one of y'all get killed, you bring 400-500 of y'all to the party. And you're going to tear up everything in your path because one of y'all got killed. But you have a problem when one of us get killed and then we want to tear up some shit. Say, man, for real, y'all just keep poking that bear, huh? When they go off again, I promise you, every city gonna be like Seattle. If y'all ain't been keeping up with Seattle, they done shut Seattle down. You bring whatever military you want, them people done took over that city, man. Say, man, it's what it is. Stop poking the bear. Now, tonight, I want to figure out if I'm black. I look black. My mama told me I was black, but I ain't feeling black right now. My guest, Danny Ausberry, gonna break that down for us. What's going on, Doc?
Peace. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm in the building with you and Demetri and Donovan, and we all look black, but I think you're gonna wake some people up tonight. Give us a little background on you, my friend.
Well, I'm a military veteran. My dad is originally from Egypt. My mom is from Louisiana. And I'm an activist when it comes to arts and culture, having everybody to get their opportunity. I'm also a teacher at Sheldon ISD. And I've been doing a lot with volunteering, creating murals around the city, doing a lot of that. And I've been advocating for people who look like us to be who they truly are. So the government has really been taking an interest in that particular discussion.
So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Am I black?
You are what you answer to. You are what you answer to. So if you say you're black, you're black. But if you would ask me if I'm black, I'll tell you no.
Well, how the hell you ain't black? You look black.
Well, black is a colorful term that was created in the 1400s. And Abraham Lincoln said it best. He said the two great things that helped to contribute to American society was the Lutheran Reformation, but also the creation of the Negro in the 1400s. This is what he said. So the term Negro, black, and colored, and all of that stuff that was created to take us away from our state, or to take us away from what was truly ours, to take us away from the history, to strip us of everything. And so in the law, if you answer to that particular colorable term, then you become that colorable term. There is no record of the human family. There is no record of Negro, black, and colored, African American in the human family. There is none. But black is actually the interrupted history of the Moors. Everybody knows this. But the fact that we don't own up, or we don't answer to, or we don't try to investigate who we are truly, that's when we start to fall in different types of dichotomies. For example, if you are saying that something is colorable, okay, then you're dealing with color of the law, which still applies. That's why they say, oh, they don't say your constitutional rights. They don't say your human rights. They're always talking about civil rights, because they had to get something that would cover the colorable term. So the colorable, when you say something is colorable, you're saying that it's the semblance of a thing, but not actually that thing. But if you say, I come from a nationality, I have just soleil, I have just sanguinis, which is the right of the blood and the right of the soil, then you become that. And then you fall into the Constitution. You fall right smack dab in the middle of it rather than the end of it. You see, and that's why we have a lot of second-class punishments when it comes to people who are doing things to us. See, if you're a second-class citizen, then you're going to get a second-class punishment. So instead of people saying, oh, well, you know, like, oh, perfect example, Trayvon Martin. You had George Zimmerman, you had Trayvon Martin. At first, George Zimmerman came in there as a colorable term called Hispanic. But then later his lawyers changed on him and said, you know what, go ahead and say you're Peruvian American. It made him have that first-class citizenship right. But unfortunately, he went against Trayvon. Well, I mean, fortunately for him, but unfortunately for the world at large, he went against the proverbial boy that was considered a Negro, black, and colored, which is colorable, which is a semblance of a human, but not quite one. So it's kind of like if you kill an animal, right? Something that happened to you, but not as bad.
Hey, hold on a second. Now, I don't know how y'all feel, Demetri, when he said that. Muggers is getting more time for killing dogs than killing Negroes.
Yep.
So it looks like the animals have more rights than, I'm going to just say me, than the man who don't know if he black.
You know, Abraham Lincoln had a case when he was an attorney. And so it was a case where he discussed the freedom of a person, because this man, I can't call his name right now, but this man that he was defending, he looked like all of us, on the screen right now. However, Abraham Lincoln said, well, I'm sorry, the man's plight was, I'm not a Negro. And so they was like, but you have black skin. We're going to take her to court. You can't date this white woman. You can't do any of this, right? However, Abraham Lincoln said, even though this man does not have white skin like ours, this is just his words, even though this man didn't have white skin like ours, it's no crime to have black skin. My client is not a Negro. He is a Moor. You see, so that's the whole thing. And I see something on here about reparations. How can you get reparations when you don't have a nation to answer to? You have to have the right of the soil. You have to have the right of the blood in order to be compensated. So, for example, you have the Irish American.
So you saying we ain't gonna get our chipples? We ain't gonna get our script club money?
The only thing I can say is, per the law, the only thing I can say is, let's see. Because the thing is, like the Irish comes from the family of the Irish. The British, they come from the family of the Brits. The Japanese, we all know they come from Japan. Nigerians, they come from Nigeria. Okay, like they have a bloodline that they are descending from. And let me tell you something, our favorite president, President Obama, has never said he was a black man. He's always said that I am Kenyan American. Why? Because he has that first-class citizenship when he says that. He's never referred to himself as a black man. Michelle might have referred to herself as that, but Obama never did do that. So with the constitutional terms, jus soli and jus sanguinis, that means that jus soli, you have the right of the blood. Jus sanguinis. I'm sorry, jus soli, you have the right of the land. Jus sanguinis, you have the right of the blood. But if you don't claim those two rights, then you don't fall under the first-class citizenship of the United States of America. You just don't. So you are what you eat. You are what you consume. And let's talk about the term black. Why do I say I'm not black? And then why do I say that everybody in this room, I do not consider black? It's against my religion to do so. Because the thing is, black comes from the term negro, right? Everybody knows this. It's synonymous with that term. But did you know that in Latin, which is the same language that the courts use today, in Latin, the word comes from necro. Necro means dead. And you were called dead in the 1400s at the same time that the Moors lost their footing in Spain. And when 1492 happened and Columbus went all over these seas on that military assault to destroy our influence all over the world, that is when we were afforded the label, if you will, of black. And most countries took hold of that and used it as a political way to strip us of everything that they've ever found that we've ever acquired.
So hello, how are you?
How are you?
I'm well. I'm Demetra. So, Noble Drew Ali asked us, and obviously not us, but Black people. I refer to myself as Black, but I refer to, I guess, African Americans not to refer to ourselves as Black. He, in fact, asked us to refer to ourselves as Asiatic.
That's correct.
Can you explain that to the people watching? Exactly what Asiatic means in per Noble Drew Ali's definition.
Yeah, so Asiatic is our actual race. And when you think about Asia, you think about Asiatic, it just means directly from the soil. You know, we have the melanin to show that, you know, because at one time, Africa was called the Mexum, but it was also referred to as Asia too. That's why they refer to the Moabites, right, as Afro-Asiatic people. You know, they always put Afro at it so you can kind of know the people that they're talking about. But we're Asiatic. That's all we've ever been. And then you have European, because, you know, European is just what you use to separate the mindset, if you will. There was a certain way that Asiatics did things. There was a certain way that Europeans did things. It doesn't make them evil. It doesn't make them any of that. But it just makes it to where you know what the separation is. You know who is who. Now, Noble Drew Ali never pushed that we become Black, but other institutions that borrowed from his teachings, they only borrowed bits and pieces and put other pieces in other organizations and other things. And then the meaning kind of got a little bit misconstrued. Noble Drew Ali brought love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, because all of them are intertwined. You can't have one without the other. And so when I look at people who are of European descent, if they are moving in peace, if they're acting in peace, if they're doing what they're supposed to do, we do consider them Muslims, because they're people after the way of peace, depending on who it is, because being a Muslim is a mindset, you know, so that's kind of where he was coming from with the whole thing. Now, you could be Christian and be a Muslim. You could be Jewish and be a Muslim. You could be whatever, Buddhist and be a Muslim, because all that means is a person after the way of peace, a person that wants to propagate peace. That's it. The message is so simple, but it got caught into people wanting to control the Moors, wanted to do this and wanted to do that, and had an opinion about this and had an opinion about this person, and personality worshiping and all of that stuff that we also do today. Mm-hmm.
So do you believe that all, and I'm going to say African Americans just to kind of make it a broader term, are of Moorish descent? Because it says that, I guess, the Moors originated in northwest Africa through southeast Europe. So obviously the continent of Africa is pretty huge. So would we all be considered Moors if that was the origination of the Moorish?
Right. So a bit about the Moorish history is this. We come from the land of Moab, okay? And everybody knows that that's kind of like present day Jordan, right? And so a lot of those old things, you know, those old ancestral markers out there, they were built by us. However, we were pushed out, I think, as the Bible talks about, you know, just to put it in layman's terms for everyone who doesn't know. And I can kind of, you know, reach from a well-known point. When Joshua was pushing out the armies, right, when he was subduing the land, he pushed the Moabites out. And remember, the Moabites come from Ruth and Boaz. So we're the children of those two. Okay, so we come in, and remember, Moab was a colony of Egypt. So we went into the interior of Egypt to be safe. Kind of like if somebody was attacking Puerto Ricans right now, the Puerto Ricans would come to the mainland. They would try to escape here because, you know, there's safety here. So we went through Egypt. We also retained the keys of Egypt, right? And then we went, the keys meaning knowledge and all of that. Then we went to Northwest Africa and created kingdoms in Northwest Africa. So you have Tripoli, you have Tunisia, you have Libya, you have Morocco, you have all of that. And remember, the borders and the boundaries were much, much, much more different than they are today. And then we went up to Europe, and obviously we industrialized Europe. We made strides in the sciences and everything. We did all that. And we educated, you know, Europeans and brought them to the level that they are. However, a lot of people are not talking about the times during our travels where we actually did come to the Americas. That's why you have certain structures in Cuba and in Brazil and in Central America and even in Louisiana. You know, Texas was discovered by a Moor. They call him Estevanico the Moor, and there's a statue of him in Asmuri, New Mexico right now. But he's responsible for the creation of this. You can go to Texas Senate Resolution 1013. And because I discovered this history, I approached the Senate about it. And the Senate actually said, you know what, you're right. Let's make a resolution. And it's Resolution 1013. You can look it up. by the Texas Senate.
So Noble Drew Ali was considered a prophet, right?
Yes.
Right. And so he, I guess he made a trip to Egypt where he was deemed to be a prophet, said he was amongst those of Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad. And I guess he, I don't want to say dabbled, but he, I guess, was into mysticism. Can you explain mysticism to people who are watching?
Well, I don't know per se if he was in, well, I could say my definition of mysticism would be just understanding more things than what you just taught, you know, and that's kind of mysticism for me. However, Noble Drew Ali as a prophet, he merely just, you know, rose among his people. That's what prophets do, right? They rise among their people with knowledge from God or from, you know, from this inspiration that'll show them or guide them to know certain things, you know. So all prophets do that. That's why Prophet Muhammad came along, right? Because people thought, oh, it was just going to be Jesus. But after him, it was someone else. Maybe after Noble Drew Ali, it may be someone else. I have no idea. But at this juncture, in this year, at this time, this is something that he brought along because after 1865, after slavery, shortly thereafter in the 1920s, he was able to establish the Moorish Science Temple of America and create a place where people could learn how to be Moors, right? Because if you've been operating as Negro, Black, and Coloreds for years, you're going to have to know how to switch your behavior into being what you really are supposed to be, what you really come from. See, how it's told to me is, if you call yourself something other than what your parents call themselves, then you are not honoring your fathers and your mothers. And so if you're saying you're Black, if you're saying you're legally dead, if you're saying that thing that your ancestors never told themselves, nor you, that's what you were, and then you take on the mantle of being something else that you're not, then you're not honoring your mothers and your fathers.
So let me ask you this. So if I go to a court, I'm accused of something or whatever, I'm trying to plead my case in court. Is it your testimony? Because I've heard this a lot from people, that all I have to do is invoke the fact that I'm a Moor, and somehow that's supposed to give me some sort of amnesty. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
Okay, so how does that work?
Correct. That is not correct. Let's take it back to this. Being Moorish American is not a bullet. It's not a silver bullet. It's not going to solve all of your problems. You are not going to be bulletproof. You're not going to be any of that kind of stuff. You know, people, let me tell you where that comes from, because I was there when the dynamic was being established. Okay. And a lot of people don't even know that I'm sitting back and I'm observing. They don't even know. They don't even recognize me sometimes because they're off doing what they're doing and I'm just watching. But the thing is, they tried to marry rather, Moorish science with sovereignty, with the stuff with, I think his name is Kevin something. But it's like these European sovereignty, common law type people. They tried to merge those two ideas together, and a lot of people got messed up by that. They're walking into the courts, they're doing all this stuff. Look, in court, you always have your procedure. But the thing that's going to make you an effective Moorish American is if you first learn about your character. Because when you come to people in an intelligible tone, they will follow you. They will, you know, see the pattern, and they will take what you say seriously. So the thing is, being a Moorish American does not guarantee you a silver bullet. It does not, you know, it's just like you being Jewish American or Mexican American or whatever. You have certain things that do apply to you, yes. But at the same time, if you're walking in there and you done killed 5 people, or you done, you know, stole from a lot of folks, don't expect to, I don't know, magically get out of it. You have to have the character. What is the character of what you say you are?
And I'm just kind of laughing at some of the comments because people were like, "Oh my gosh, this is too deep for me." So
yeah, it's sometimes when you're talking to a certain group, and this is just my suggestion, you really got to keep it as simple as possible, because I know what you're talking about. Demetria knows what you're talking about because we probably studied it, but a majority of people, it's like really overwhelming to them.
Well, and he's not even going over people's heads. I mean, I think he's keeping it pretty simple. I mean,
well, I think it has something to do with the school system we were a part of. The reason we don't know nothing about black Moors or nothing else, because ain't nobody pushed the buck for us to learn about who the hell we are in these damn school systems. They can teach you Mexican American history. They can teach you all this other stuff. But when it comes to us, we all messed up. So if you don't want to listen, go somewhere. I'm actually enjoying this. I need to learn something new.
Right.
That's the problem. You know, everybody in here is the smartest person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You need another room.
Right.
I'm
right.
listening to me because right now I ain't feeling too black.
Well, and
right.
and
I don't care if it wasn't on the census at all. I ain't feeling black.
Right.
Well, the thing is, let me just say this, and then I'll, and then y'all just let me know what you want to do. But in the 1920s, once the Moorish American nationality was established, remember in the 1920s and the early 1900s, there was a grab for nationality because there was people who were Irish descent who were here. They were indentured servants, but they really didn't get to be themselves either, but not like it affected the black, quote unquote, black people, right? So then you had the Italian Americans. They had a hard time becoming white on paper. Like, it was a whole thing. So a lot of people were in a rush to grab their nationality because they understood where they were supposed to be in the Constitution. Okay. So in the 1920s, we were late, with the nationality part because, it is what it is. But in the 1920s, when we established our nationality and Noble Drew Ali helped everybody do that, don't you know that it was like over 100,000 people voting who were Moorish Americans in Chicago, voting for the alderman? People vying for their votes? And that's years before the Civil Rights Constitution, the Civil Rights portion of the 14th Amendment. And Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish teaching states that we don't even need the 14th Amendment. We just need the first through 13th because we're constitutional. We're first class citizens. We're first class. Treat me as if I'm first class. That's all we're saying. That's all we want at the end of the day. Treat me as if I'm first class. They did for George Zimmerman when he killed Trayvon Martin.
So can you correct me if I'm wrong? The premise of being a Moor, I guess, from that of Noble Drew Ali was to basically have knowledge of self, learn your higher and your lower self, and to operate out of love and understanding and those things, right?
Yeah. So what it was he wanted to teach. Noble Drew Ali wanted to teach love. He wanted you to love yourself, but he also wanted to teach love, right? Because we don't love each other, we don't trust each other. We had a hellish history, and then even from the point where we were called Indians, we were called Blackamoors, we were called Indian Morians, we were called Negroes, we were called all of these things. We don't even trust each other. We don't even trust ourselves because we don't even know where we come from. You think that the transatlantic slave trade, happened here. 10% of it did, but where are all these other people come from who look like me, you, and you? Did they just magically appear? How did that happen? Why is it that some of the natives, like in Louisiana, when you're looking at the poverty point, and you're looking at all these different places with these monuments and stuff, and these Native Americans are telling you we didn't build that? Well, who the hell did? Why is it so impossible to believe that we ran the world at one point, and that we traveled at one point, and that we've been somewhere at one point?
We've been beaten into submission when it comes to just slowing down and trying to learn the truth. We've been beaten into submission. You know, we got 40 different religions. You know, I know one thing, and I don't care if folk get mad. Coming through the slave trade, you got your ass whooped, and you had to be a Christian for that to happen. I don't know no other way to put it.
True.
And right now, some of y'all are so Christianly brainwashed. I'm still waiting on Jesus to help us make the cops stop killing black people. We read their books. We believe everything they tell us about us. But yet they got 40 different versions of the book. Which one we need to read today? And that's why I fought so hard. They wouldn't do it, Demetri. They gave us Mexican American studies. Now they gonna give us African American studies. Well, who the hell gonna write the book? Because if it's them, we ain't gonna know nothing.
Well, I would say this, and just studying that of Noble Drew Ali, and obviously, studying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who, it is said that the Nation of Islam was influenced by Noble Drew Ali and the Moors.
It was.
Yeah, and it was. And Farrakhan actually acknowledged that. Mm-hmm. But both religions, if you will, I don't know if we want to call it that, but I'll call that to keep it simple, said to get knowledge of self. So if we are depending on the school system to teach us who we are, then we're already lost. Like we should send our babies to school
and in these private schools,
already knowing all this stuff. They already know this stuff.
Well, see, I don't mean to cut you, but this is what I want to add. Okay, so I was traveling somewhere in the Southwest, and I saw the British school, I saw the Japanese school, I saw the Greek school, I saw all of these schools where these young kids, they learn their languages, they learn their customs, they learn all their things, and then when they enter into the greater community, they have a better sense of self. If you notice the Greek school, what they do is they train their elementary students, their middle schools, some of their middle school students, and then they'll send them overseas to certain schools where people run the world. And then they come back and then they do what they do. You see what I'm saying? So we're sending our children to public schools, which, I'm in one, and we're doing the best that we can at this time. However, there should be a structure to where we learn who we are. And if we decide to go in there into the world and mingle, with the community at large, that's fine. But at least that child have the experience of being him or herself.
I'm gonna ask a dumb question because I ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Me neither.
Why we go to school and we gotta learn Spanish, French, and everything? And I see a lot of people on here talking about they are of African descent. Why you never questioned them as to why we can't learn African? Why we can't learn, supposedly, you say that's where that's what white America say we came from, Africa, but you don't want to teach us nothing about it. They don't want to teach us nothing. And me, I'm like y'all, I don't depend on the school system to teach me a damn thing. Because I know the only thing they teaching me is enough to learn so I can go work 40 hours a week for 40 years.
Well, Noble Drew Ali always wanted Moors to be industrious. He was industrious himself. He owned businesses. He made it possible for people to make a living, and we have to make sure that we can make it possible for each other to have a living, as well. But we don't treat it. It's like when we see things that are wrong, right? You got liquor stores. You got I'm nothing against barbershops, because actually being a barber comes from Berber, which is also a part of the Moorish paradigm. So, but I'm just saying there's a repeat of a certain structure in our communities. And it's not only in Houston, but it's in Dallas, it's in, you know, St. Petersburg, it's in all these different types of areas, you know, and we see a thing, we see that it's not right, but we still act like, oh, that's just the norm. That's just what I'm gonna do. That's whatever. But in the 20s, we had our act together. We had our act together, despite what the government has been doing to us, despite what the KKK has been doing to us, and all this other stuff. We had our act together as far as unity. But now you usher in a new culture, a new vibration, if you will. In the late 70s and 80s, you know, that's when things started to turn around. People started to forget and kind of really wanted to forget like who they were, because they were able to obtain material things. The family's broken up, everybody's drugged up, everybody's this and that. And now you're seeing the repercussions of that internally. So I'm not excusing what these cops are doing. I'm not excusing what's happening out there today right now. But I'm saying, if you're walking down the street and the first thing you do is judge your own, you might be a part of the problem.
You know, I want to.
No, go ahead.
I was going to piggyback off of what you said about how well they had their stuff together in the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Marcus Garvey, you know, who was up and running around that time with the UNIA. And it was said that Noble Jew Ali had about 35,000 followers in the 1920s. Now we got to remember, this was before, and you know, admittedly, Marcus Garvey, they said had between 3 and 6 million followers. Now this was all before phones, TV, social media, and any of that kind of stuff. Where is the population at now, as far as members, I guess, of the Moorish temple?
Well, I don't know, because there is so many of them, and unfortunately I did not keep up with that particular number. Mm-hmm. But I can. There is one Moorish Science Temple of America that I do know that's in Houston, Temple number 7. So if you look up Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple number 7, like you'll probably see the website and all of that. However, going back to Marcus Garvey. In the Moorish American movement, in the Moorish movement, Marcus Garvey was described as the John the Baptist of the Moorish movement, because he talked a lot about race pride. He talked a lot about, you know, this is what we should be doing. We need a prophet. He said we need a prophet to come amongst us and whatever, but not knowing that there actually was one, you know, to change the paradigm, if you will. You know, and really, if you notice, during his time that he was alive, he got a lot accomplished, and he really wasn't attacked like that, you know. And people have to really look into his story. They have to get to know more about him in order to know, you know, the real deal about, you know, what's basically going on.
His death was kind of shrouded in mystery. There was a lot of question behind what actually happened to him. Now, on record, it said he died of I think it was
bronchitis or something like that.
Tuberculosis. But what do you guys know to be true amongst yourselves? Because and they also said that he
to be honest, as far as I know, we don't know ourselves. We don't know. You know, all we could do is speculate off of the toxicology report to say, you know, tuberculosis and you know, how he died. But we don't know, you know, if he was, you know, we don't know. I'm not going to lie and try to give you an answer that I don't have. But
I was just saying, because it was, I guess, also said that perhaps he was beaten, you know, because he died right after he had gotten released from jail, and so they thought maybe something happened to him there. He died pretty young, 43 years old. Mm-hmm. So I was just wondering if you knew. But Noble Jew Ali considered Chicago to be like a second Mecca. Is that still the ideology?
That is the ideology right now. Chicago is a second Mecca because of, you know, it's a place where he simply created. the Moorish Science Temple of, well, he didn't create it there. I'm sorry, he moved it there. So at first he was in Newark, New Jersey. And at the time, the Moorish Temple of Science, it was a civil organization, based off of, just nationality. And he did, bring the religious part in, but it was kind of, like people just didn't automatically get that it was a religious thing. However, when it was moved over in the 1920s to Chicago or to Cook County, then it was known as a religious institution renamed Moorish Science Temple of America. Okay, because religion was a big part, or Islamism was a big part of adjusting the character of the Negro characteristic, right? Because you had people killing this is Chicago, okay? This is all going down. So that's when people shooting each other. They got a piece and that's it. Like, you're gone, that is it, And so he set out to stop that. He set out to stop the hatred. He said, you need to learn to love instead of hate. And so he brought them in and taught them how to love themselves, taught them how to see once again the inner knowledge that was in their DNA. So when a lot of people say, oh, this was a racist organization then because they didn't allow any whites in and whatever, how some people say, but that's not the case. People of different nationalities or whatever, they could come to the temple all day, but they weren't allowed to be members because the people actually needing the teaching of themselves were the people who could proclaim that they were Moorish American because of their heritage. They got the heritage, but they didn't have the culture behind the heritage. That's what that's about.
So it is known that Moors, not modern day Moors, but Moors back in the day, I guess maybe not even in ancient times, but civilized the Europeans.
Yes.
Why do you think Europeans, white people, if you will, have a problem admitting that? I mean, Moors, brought them basically from the Dark Ages, taught them, education. I mean, just how to hygiene and the whole nine. Well, why do you think people have an issue with just saying, yeah, that's true?
Well, I mean, it marks a great course, in our history, and one that we can look back on, because if we realize that this is what we come from, it's said in our teachings that we are descendants of ancient Moroccans born in America. But when we talk about, ancient Moroccans, we're talking about all the way to the Empire of Morocco, all the way to the 1st century, when we were also considered the Phoenicians. We were also considered so many other things. Okay. But I want to get back to the issue of white. We're just saying white for the sake of conversation, but white means purity. So that's why we say Asiatics and we say Europeans, because white puts you into a pure place. But if you but you don't have to be that. You probably are not that. So we'll refer to you as, instead of a color, we'll refer to you as what you are. You're European or you're Asiatic. Simple as that.
So should we all be calling ourselves Moors in 2020? You know what? Scratch that question. Scratch that. Do Moors vote?
Moors do vote. Yes, we do. We vote because Norbert Ali refers to our rights, right? Our first class citizenship. It is our duty to vote. It is our sacred ballot. That's what he referred to it as. It is our sacred ballot. So we are supposed to vote, because if you are part of a political body, if you're a part of a people here in this country, you have a say in what's going on.
Now, are Moors supposed to vote for the lesser of two evils? Meaning that, okay, so I'm pretty sure you're aware of the political climate that's going on now, right? We got Trump, the orange devil, and we got Biden, let's say red devil. They both perpetuate evil. So would Noble Drew Ali expect for us to go in and pick one of the evils? To say I got to exercise my right to vote, I'm going to pick one evil. Would he expect for us?
Well, he does not. He does. I would say I can't. I can't speak from because I wasn't there at the time that he was there. But what I can say, I'm just go from me. All right, this is coming from Danny Ausberry L. I'm going to say if you do not vote, somebody is going to vote for you. Somebody is going to enter in their say for you. So whatever your choice is, that is your choice, whatever it is, because it's not up to me to ask you who you're going to vote for or try to influence you. It's really not up to me for that. You should be a person of your own thought, your own individual self, because God is in you. So you make the decision. So we all have a decision to make, whatever it is, but I don't think not voting would be the cure for that. And next time, honestly, we should raise up our own and send them through there properly with their nationality, properly with their character, properly with all of that stuff. And then they can run and make sure that we have things, that we can look forward to. But we haven't done that yet as a whole.
So do you think, so you don't think it's a good idea for us to hold the vote, send a message to either party? Because I'm nonpartisan, and I say it all the time. I'm not voting on a national level. I'll vote on a local and state level because that affects me more. Mm-hmm. But me personally, I'm not going to be used anymore by any political party until they give us something. And Malcolm X asked us to think about that. He says voting for the lesser of two evils is still choosing evil. In fact, we know predominantly Black people vote Democrat, and he says that any Black person who votes for the lying liberals are a traitor to the race because they promise you everything and give you nothing. And so do you at least maybe think that, let's say we did sit out this election season, then we can work on maybe building our own party or send a message to the Republicans or the Democrats that you can no longer use Black people, Moors. You can no longer use Moors anymore. No pun intended.
Well, I'm the Black Republican, and I really think y'all need to take your time and look at what we have to offer. And if you do that much, then I think you might want to come hang out with us. Just remember, the little orange man, we'll be kicking it with him Friday, man. Kicking it with the orange man Friday.
That's it. And I'm nonpartisan too, but I do lean toward the Republican Party because my stocks have never done better. So.
Well, I would say this. You're talking about the Republicans and you're talking about the Democrats. Okay. I would say do a great fact check on how people became Democrats. Do a great fact check on how people became Republicans. Do a fact check on what did the Republicans do for people that look like you. Do a fact check on what the Democrats did for people who look like you. And then if you come up with whatever you come up with, then go from there to be more educated, in that journey.
That's how I came to the decision to be nonpartisan. I did my research and I'm like, the Republicans haven't done anything for Black people, and neither have the Democrats. Maybe I'll just stay home. Like, honestly.
Well, the Democrats ain't did nothing for us since when? What have they done for us since when? That's what I would ask everybody, but none of these people out here have ever answered that question. What are these people doing for us? But yet people will come to me every day, Dimitri. You shouldn't be saying, I say what I want to say. Because any help I done got for my community came from a Republican. Any help, let me go slow for y'all. Any help that I done got for my Black community came from a Republican. So what the hell are the Democrats doing for me to hang out with them another 52 years?
Oh, can I ask? I don't want to throw anybody off, but Terry Hayes says that the Moors at the time of the invasion in 711 were Muslims. It was a different time, and all people of three major religions, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish, lived and worked together more or less peacefully under varying rules. That is correct. But we also have to say that a lot of the Christians and a lot of the Jews were also Moors as well. So when you talk about the Saracens and the Moriscos and all those people, they were still us too. So I just wanted to make that clear, that correction.
Yeah, because I guess it was said that anybody who was of a darker complexion was considered Muslim, right?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Yes and no. That depends on what region you were at. Mm-hmm. But the region that was, that we ruled with the Almohad and all these other different empires during our Moorish rule, we were clearly what we were, but people like to mix that up, because, my dad's Egyptian, but look at what I look like. My mom is from Louisiana. She's a Louisiana Natchitoches native, Natchitoches Aboriginal. You see what I look like. So, we clearly were what we were and are what we are, but people kind of cloak that in semantics, if you will.
Fellas?
I agree. I mean, he's not really a lot of what he's saying. I've studied as well, as you know, and a lot of people understand it, but when I'm ever asked that question, it is and I'm just going to break it down to simple terms. When I go into a court, I don't think this white man cares if I'm Moorish, Jew, whatever. All he sees is my black skin, and he wants to beat my black ass. So, but what you're saying is about knowing who you are and your background and how that applies, especially internationally with the World Court. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of our grievances we can take to the World Court and reparations, all this stuff. But you know what? There's so many of us that don't know the Moors and some of these legalities that we sit here and just keep getting our heads beat in. If the world has an opinion against the United States in regards of how they treat Black people, Moors, and whoever else, how can we sit there and talk about we're the people of the world and we stand for peace, justice, and freedom, and we're beating black ass right in our own country? So, again, I really wish you could come out and do a master class on that. And do that, because a lot of people really do need to understand who they are, because if you don't know who you are, you're not going to know where you're going.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry about that, but my apologies. But that's the thing, and I want to take something with what you said about the World Court. I've taken some law classes in international law with APU University. And I had to study treaty law. I had to study international law, all that. But what is going on is sometimes it's hard to get retribution for people who are stateless. So if you're without a state, then it's hard for you to get what you truly deserve. The Aboriginals in the Australian Aborigines, they had a state because they said that we are this. We know you've been calling us Negroes, and if you look at me real good, I look like an Aborigine myself. So you may be calling us Negroes, but no, on paper, we're Aborigines. We have the look, yes, but we are Aborigines. Same for the Hawaiians, same for some of the Polynesians. So the thing is, if you say that you are a color, if you say that you are the semblance of something real, the semblance of something real, then what are you exactly? You don't exist. They have to make up fake laws to appease you, so you won't tear everything up, right? That's what the understanding is. Yes, we are human. And I'm not saying, oh, well, if you say you're not black, you separate yourself from the rest of black people and all of this stuff. That's not what it is. What it is I am to be separate from the term, because the term can mean my life, is what it is. I'm not going to keep speaking death on me. So that's why when Africans come here, they'll joke with you. They'll say, oh yeah, we black, we all in it together. But I bet you when they go to court and that Nigerian American has treaties with the United States of America, they're going to treat him differently. There's a treaty with us too, but we have to be in good character in order to make that work.
Man, you too deep for these people. Final words, Ms. Demetra.
No, I would absolutely say it's been a pleasure. I thank you for bringing your knowledge, because I think, you know, whether people, and like I said, I call myself black, but I think it is important to know about the Moors and things like that. And I just impress upon everybody, open your minds a little bit. You know, it's always good to learn about different ways of life and different ways of thinking, so that you'll be able to have a well-rounded conversation. If you only know the things that you know and that you believe, then, I mean, you stop learning. And so, like I said, thank you so much. Come on anytime and teach us. I don't want to say preach, but teach us. Teach us about all that you know, so that it can help us in the long run. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, you know, maybe for a lot of us that are my age, 50 and above, it's, you know, we don't want to know, we don't care to know, whatever. But, you know, with what's going on in the world, maybe we can get the younger people to get them to know what we didn't teach them. And then they would, you know, do something for themselves different than what we've done or haven't done for ourselves. So please come back and do a master class and, you know, and open up these people's minds. I mean, like I said, not preach, please come back and teach. I mean, I understood what you were saying, because I studied a little bit, because I hang out with this person up here. And, you know, it's important that you know who you are, because a lot of us out there, and I know these people don't want to admit it, they really don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. And that's the problem.
Well, I tell you what, my friend, I appreciate you coming, stopping by the War Zone. It's been very, very informative, but I will say he has to come back, because he has to tell us about that fabulous nonprofit that he runs. Moors or not, the man is a monster. And you might need to figure out exactly what he does besides teaching. And then you might put some respect on his name. Now, I'm going to say this here for y'all. Tomorrow, we're supposed to have the Houston Police Department Chief, Art Acevedo. He rescheduled for tomorrow. But in the meantime, I think we should talk about this, because we're listening to them other people. They telling you it's time for you to send your kids back to school. They telling you we're going to have smaller classrooms. HISD, for example, is short 500 teachers. So you don't have enough teachers to teach what we got right now. But now you're finna have more classrooms because you're going to make them smaller. But my issue is it safe? You telling me I can't even walk in the grocery store without a mask on. How you going to keep some 3-year, 4-year-old, 5-year-old kids with them hot-ass masks on all day in school? What I think is going to happen, especially at the middle school and the high school level, we're going to have more adolescent police interactions. And I don't think that's going to be good. What y'all think?
I personally would not. I think we have some feedback. My daughter's 27, so I don't have to worry about sending her back to school. But if I had a small child that was in the school system, she absolutely would not be going back to school. There's no way. I just, you know, I mean, most people who have a child who has a school-age child has been teaching them at home. Now, I know some people got to go back to work and stuff, But if it was me, I would figure it out. I would continue to homeschool my child, but I would not send my child back into that environment where we know, I mean, hell, they said in 21 states, the COVID is on the rise. Hell, in Houston, they're thinking about shutting y'all back down again because it's getting that bad. And so I wouldn't send my kid back there, but I think we also need to realize is that the state or the school, the board or whatever, whoever's making these decisions, they don't care about your child. They care about that money. Because when your kid ain't in school, they're not making no money.
Well, here's the dumbest thing, and then I'm going let us get up out of here. How you gonna social distance on a school bus? Ain't nobody gonna get to school on time. I know my coach used to tell me I needed to be 6 inches apart from Darren Nash. How you gonna social distance on a football field? It ain't gonna work. But tomorrow, if the chief don't show up, I'm gonna treat the school system like a slave. Cause I'm gonna beat the hell out your ass tomorrow night. I don't think them kids should go back in the building. But that's for a whole different discussion. I want to thank my co-host, Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Demetra K, my good friend, Danny Ausberry, and I am the 5-star general, and I'll see you tomorrow.